I met a consultant from Minneapolis who worked in labor relations and did exactly what I had been doing for corporations, but as a consultant, he was doing it for companies of all sizes, and he was very successful at it, and it sounded very challenging. And he then got back in touch with me and said that he was opening an office in New York City, and wondered if I'd be interested. Well, that was a chance for me to get back east, which was appealing, but more so it was appealing from the professional standpoint to me, to have the variety, and just it looked like the best move I could have made. It was scary because I still had 4 children at home, and consulting is kind of iffy. You don't have a fixed income. So talked it over, and we decided, okay, let's go, and made the chance. So I started working in Manhattan, out of the Manhattan office in Midtown, with the principal of the company, and I did that for a few months until the school term was up, and we put our house up for sale in Sioux City, and went and found one in White Plains, New York, and lived in Westchester County. But the deal I had made with him was that I would do that only if, once New York was up and running, that I could go to Atlanta and do the same thing, because I wanted to live in Atlanta. And I thought that's where the future was going to be too, the growth. So he agreed. So it took me about 14 months, I guess, to get New York up and running completely. And so at about the 10-month point, after I'd been in New York City for 10 months, I started going to Atlanta and opened an office there, rented a place, and started working out of there a couple days a week, and did that quite satisfactorily. And so August of '77, I moved my family to Atlanta. Continued to have responsibility in the office in New York, so I went back and forth, but the family was in Atlanta and settling in and very happy. We were just there about 18 months total. Okay. So it wasn't, it wasn't a very long time. And then in 1980, right in the middle of 1980, the consulting firm dissolved. The principal decided he would retire from consulting, and he was getting up in years, and he was going to dissolve the company. So I bought my piece of it from him, and paid him for it, and every one of my clients came with me. The clients I had been serving under the consulting firm, I told them I was going solo, and they could stay with the firm. There were people there that would help him, or they could come with me, and they said, I'll go with you. So I brought that business with me, and so that's what I bought, and I continued on my own for another 15 years, and it was a good move. It increased my income substantially, gave me a lot more freedom, gave me a lot more spare time. I continued to keep an office in New York for several years, but that got old too. Spending a few days each in New York and Atlanta every day or every week, it got old. So after a lot of years of that, I finally stopped that and worked only out of Atlanta, and actually pulled back on my practice, but made enough money to get along, and had a better life. We lived in Dunwoody section of Atlanta, mainly because we were buying a house in a hurry, of course, as we always do, because they were on their summer hiatus from school, and we had to get settled in there before fall, because they had the fall term coming up. Our preference on housing was, first of all, the schools, because 3 of my 4 kids were in public school at that time, and schools were important. The best schools we could find in the area at that time were in Dunwoody, and so we, Dunwoody is not where I wanted to live necessarily in the Atlanta area, but it was the best schools, so that was the compromise. But it turned out well. We had a nice home. We lived on a very short street with a cul-de-sac, and they could go out and play after school and run free in the neighborhood, and I think they had a very good childhood. They don't complain too much about it. So Atlanta was nice. It was growing. It was exciting. It was they keep that population scoreboard on Peachtree Street that tells how many people live in the greater Atlanta area. And at the time I moved there, it was just about reaching 2 million. Today it's what, 4 or 5, well over 4, maybe even over 5. I haven't looked at it recently. So it's been a lot of growth in the time, but it's been a lot of years too. So, but they were good years. And